And we are live for the 43rd episode of the Bronx Bomber Battle podcast. I'm your host, Matt Luz Luigi, and tonight we've got the full crew. We've got Alex,
Hello.
we've got G,
Hey,
and we've got Andrew, the most positive man on Twitter. How we doing?
Not positive. It's positive now. What's going on, man?
Oh man, well we haven't recorded in almost a couple of weeks. A lot's happened since we last recorded. Didi came back. Clint had a war with the media. The Yankees took 2 or 3 from the Red Sox. The consecutive series streak ended. Herman went on the IL. Tanaka had sex. A lot of things happening. Yankee universe. Currently, as we stand, Sunday night, they're tied for first place with the Rays. 7 cleared the Red Sox. So still things are still going good despite the the tough stretch they've had over the past week and a half, dropping back-to-back series after winning about 13 of their last 14. So, things are, as we've seen, things aren't always going to be easy, but yeah, we're going to, recap the last few series. We're going to talk about what pissed us off, bullpen trust list. We're going to do it all, but guys, how are we feeling about this team, man? Anyone could start it off. Hasn't been the prettiest baseball the last couple of weeks, right? The bullpen kind of starting to falter after being so locked down for like almost the entire month of May. How are we feeling about this team right now?
I'll start it off. My thoughts right now is that I'm not really surprised that they're playing, not doing as well as they were before. Like they were bound to stretch where they weren't playing perfect baseball the whole time, but it's different to see them basically everyone just fall apart. Bullpen was so good for so long, and this weekend especially, it was god awful. The starting pitching has been really inconsistent. The offense has been inconsistent, so it's different than what we were used to for like a month.
yeah, I was a little bit. Obviously, you don't want to see them have weeks, going forward like they had this week. But they were playing at such a high rate for, basically all of them, like the first week or so. They were playing at such a high rate, and just winning series after series after series, like with all their guys that were injured. Didi's back now. A couple are starting to come back. Like, I think it's fine that they had a down week. I just want them to right these things quickly and not make a habit out of it.
Definitely agree. These games are going to happen. You're going to go through stretches like this. You can't play at a 700 clip all year. What I'm most concerned about, or I guess curious to see how it plays out, is if they can right this ship pretty quickly. The bullpen, especially the top arms, have been used a lot. They've been winning a lot of games, but they've been playing a lot of close games. They haven't had a bunch of like 10-2, 10-1 wins where they could just ride out Cessa or Nestor Cortez or whoever. So every once in a while, you're going to have games like Sunday where Canely just imploded. You had the game in Toronto where Britton gave up the bomb to lose the game ultimately to Vladdy Jr. Like, this is going to happen.
You mean the only home run ball that's ever been hit off a Zach Britton slider or Zach Britton sinker out of the zone? You mean literally the only one? Just
oh my god!
I was only listening to the game at that point, so I didn't realize until I got home later that night and saw the highlight. Oh wow, that really was a good pitch. Like, they were saying it was a good pitch and he just hit it, but I was like, yeah, whatever. It was probably in the zone. Oh no, it was down and a good pitch, and Vladdy Jr. just sat on it.
Yeah, no, he crushed it.
Yeah,
ultimately, the offense isn't totally locked in right now. You look at today, Sunday they scored 7 runs. They had a couple games where they put up 5-6 runs consistently. It doesn't seem like they're really locked in, though. It kind of seems like a couple things kind of go their way. DJ's been ultra clutch with men on base. He can't be the only guy producing. So I still feel like they haven't hit their offensive stride, and that can help them get through some games where they have some pitching difficulties. But it's still they're in good shape right now. Like you said, 7 games ahead of Boston, tied with Tampa for first place. They just gotta clean up the messy play.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely some sloppy baseball being played in a lot of these games. let's just start off these recaps. And like we said, we're just going to briefly go through these recaps because some of these games, were over a week ago. But the Yankees took 2 or 3 from the Red Sox, right? They improved to, what is that now, 5-1 against Boston, or 4-1 against Boston this year? They were supposed to play a 4-game set, but of course, Mother Nature did not allow that. So they only played 3. But nevertheless, Hap pitches a very good game that first game. Sale all over, or LeMahieu all over Sale. It was a good series. This was obviously the series. Herman pitched on Saturday, and we didn't know at the time, but I guess he was battling something, right? He wasn't 100% healthy, and like I think Alex said, it's funny how he mentioned to the Yankees that he was injured after Keuchel, gets signed. It's a bit of a power move there by Herman, but obviously, it's Yankees, Red Sox. They go for the sweep Sunday Night Baseball. Price gets the win. He pitches a good game. Clint has some adventures out in right field. But guys, what was our takeaway from this, our second series of the year against Boston? And the next time we play the Red Sox, we'll be across the pond.
I think it was a really good series for the Yankees. They managed to work around, like, they had a really good first game. They managed to work around Herman really not having it in the second game. It just ended on a really sour note with the Red Sox just coming out and playing better in pretty much every aspect of the game on Sunday, and then Clint kind of forgetting how to play any type of defense late in the game. So I think it was a good series. It just ended on a bad note.
I really liked how they battled against Chris Sale. Obviously you look at his numbers and there's still nothing spectacular, but you look at his next start. After he faced us again, it was against a pretty weak Kansas City lineup, but he had 13 strikeouts in a complete game shutout.
Didn't he have his second immaculate inning of the year in that start?
Yeah,
it was pretty crazy.
Right. So it's still Chris Sale, right? No matter what the numbers say, they still got the job done against one of the elite pitchers in the American League. DJ had an awesome game. Obviously, Gary the big blast on Saturday, and CC. He actually left the game with the lead right on Saturday night, and I think it was Sessa gave it all up, and then obviously Clint didn't help in the outfield. But it's good. You got to keep chugging off wins against the Red Sox. These games are going to add up at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's fun. I was going to say this with CC. I feel like CC in all of his starts, he'll start off and it'll just look really bad, right? He'll give up a couple home runs, 2-3 runs early on, but at the end of his start, it seems like he always has 6 innings, 3 runs. He always puts together a solid start at the end of the day that you kind of say to yourself, all right, I'll take that from CC. It wasn't pretty, but at the end of the day, I'll take that.
What's crazy about CC is that – oh, sorry, so you go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, CC, I feel like more than anyone, there's a couple of guys in the rotation who maybe are concerned about, Hap because he's a little bit older, or Tanaka with, the possibility of his elbow exploding. But, CC, I feel like more than anyone, they're just going to be yeah, go out there and throw 5 innings. And by the time you get to, August and September, you'll be ready to, pitch without, quite as much of a leash and get into the playoffs. CC, I feel like he's just kind of quote unquote, getting his work in.
Yeah, and doesn't really come across as dominant in really any of his starts anymore, and he's never going to be that guy. And I know Yankees Twitter still likes to melt down every time he gives up 2-3 runs and only goes 5 innings because that. Apparently, that's not an effective start anymore. You need to go 8 innings, or it's your
from your number 5 guy. It is right from one of you guys. Yeah. And you're back in your rotation. It is.
And here's the thing about CC is that best case scenario, he doesn't even pitch for us in the playoffs. Maybe he comes out of the bullpen, we need a long man or something like that. But we have 4 good arms before we even add anyone else.
Yeah, it's CC. Yeah, you could see CC being used in a situation where maybe whether we're winning or losing, if it's 8-0 in a game 3 in the 4th inning, you might throw CC out there just to eat some innings. But yeah, it's really, I think his ERA is still just under. He's been in the high 3s with ERA kind of all throughout the season, but I kind of feel bad for CC because he's been stuck on 249 wins for 3 or 4 starts now, right? He's been going for his last few starts and he still hasn't gotten it. It would have been really cool to see him get it in Cleveland, the place where it all began, but it didn't work out like that, right? It just didn't work out. On a little bit of a more negative note, because we kind of have to talk about it. Clint's adventures in right field. it was bad. It was awful. It was some of the worst outfielding I've ever seen, but it really did just get blown out of proportion. Like I've never like people wanted to fucking trade him. Like it was like, oh, let's trade this guy, and then he doesn't talk to the media afterwards. Like I didn't think it was that big of a deal, man. I really didn't. Did any of us think it was? I don't think any of us thought it was like too big of a deal, right? I mean,
it sucked, but it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
Like he's not a great fielder. You got to expect that stuff to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just like a combination of a lot of silly things. Like in a vacuum, like yeah, players have a bad game, and if he felt like annoyed enough that he didn't want to talk to the media because he felt like he'd say something stupid or inflammatory, like that's fine. Like I get that. Like obviously, it doesn't look good, and the media always like wails on a guy when they don't talk
You
to the
can't
media.
beat the media. Like, you just can't beat them. You can't go to war, to go into a battle with like the New York media and expect to beat them,
Like
I feel like people
this one
made
was
a bit more of a big deal about him not wanting to talk to the media about than
Yeah,
him
that-
actually making the.
yeah, like that was,
mistakes,
I was just about to say that, Alex. It really was like that. Like I almost wish he did just talk to the media, even if he was, gave a bunch of like kind of nothing answers, because that became the story. It's like, if you would have just talked to the media and whatever, it's like, yeah, it would have been, people would have still remembered you having a terrible night in the outfield, but it's like whatever. But the fact he didn't talk to the media, like that turned it into like, they were still talking about it the next night, like on the broadcast, for like an inning or so. Like it turned into a much bigger story than it needed to be. And like that's why it's like, dude, if you just talk to the media, the fact that you didn't talk to the media, then it's like, oh, there's something to talk about because you're just supposed to talk to the media after the game. That's just what you do.
Right, and the media is such a beast in itself because there's really, I guess, three ways the story can play out. Either you go into the interview, you say some stuff, and you have a really pissy attitude, and they totally write some bullshit article about you the next day. Anyway, like they warp what you say, they make it about your attitude and the way you were looking down and not acknowledging them and being standoffish. Two, you go in and you're just honest and you own it, and it goes away. Or three, you do what he did and you just refuse to talk to them. And then the media, and I'm not going to defend the media because I personally am not someone. I feel like there's a sense of entitlement with them. I get their job is there to deliver the news, but I feel like there's also a sense of entitlement. Like they're owed answers. Like he has free speech too. He can choose to be like, no, piss off. I had a really bad day. I want to go home and sulk and be ready to go for Toronto, right? Like, but if you do that, then you run the risk of they have to write a story the next day. Their jobs, are relying on them putting out content. And if you don't talk to them, they have to make up something or put together something based on what they know about you. They don't have actual interview content.
And yeah, I do feel for Clint because you just have to put yourself in his shoes, right? And obviously, he gets paid a lot more than someone who works a normal job. But just imagine after like a terrible day of work, like you messed up, like whatever you do, like you just had a terrible day of work, and then you have to answer a bunch of questions about it, like right after it's done. Like you'd probably be pissed too, and like that's probably what he was going through. He's still a young dude. He's still got a lot to work on in terms of the way he handles himself, but. Yeah, I mean, I really didn't have any sort of problem with him not wanting to talk to the media, and it was also after a Sunday night game against Boston, so on ESPN. So I think that just made it like twice as worse.
Yeah, and he knew that too. I mean, he eventually talked to the media when they went to Toronto, and he kind of owned the fact that he felt really bad that he lost the game for them. Granted, I think they were down like 5-6
Their
runs.
offense wasn't doing much anyways, but yeah, he definitely
and they made it.
They made it for him.
Yeah, they rallied late to make it close, but I mean, who's to say that the game would have played out that way if it was?
Like the Yankees could be getting no hit through 8 innings, and then in the 9th inning they'll somehow have 5 runners, 5 base runners.
Right.
It's what the Yankees do.
Until he builds more of like a rapport with the media, like until he becomes more of an established like player and person around the clubhouse, I think he just has to be extra cautious, like keep his head on a swivel, right? Like I feel like it seems, kind of like the media has had knives out for him, for some of those reasons are kind of silly, like, the number thing that was like a misunderstanding, but like these situations kind of keep coming up and he just has to feel like be extra cautious about what he says or what he doesn't say, because otherwise he'll have to deal with situations like this where they, like, oh, his attitude is bad or all these various things that keep coming up, like for not great reasons.
Yeah, to build off of what G said, I think one thing with Clint is like he's like shown his personality a lot more than other players have, just because he, like, before the season, all of his tweets and stuff about how he was going to steal the job from Gardner and everything, he's shown that he's not going to just tell the media everything that they want to hear and stuff. He's going to be himself, but he hasn't proven that he's like a good player yet. This is his first full year. So I think that's something that has basically allowed them to not come up with, but like to basically pick on him as their prey, basically. Because,
right, and of course, he has all the history too with all the previous stories and him coming up when he got traded with the hair. Like he's been a target of the media.
He's a target because he says all these things because he has confidence in himself and he hasn't had the chance to fully back it up yet.
He's kind of like a brash personality, right?
Man, just so many of those old Clint tweets were just like one word, and just like ready, and you're just like, wow, this is a pretty deep tweet, Clint. Getting some pretty deep stuff, but man, people wanted to trade Clint. People wanting to get him out. Man, that dude has like Andrew. I think you said this. You could teach a guy to be a better defender. You could make a guy improve defensively. Can't teach a guy to hit like that. Like this dude is a fucking great hitter. I think he's got 13 home runs now. This dude could be a legit 30 home or 100 RBI guy for the rest of his career. He's that special. You'll worry about the defense later if he's giving you those types of offensive numbers. So Clint will be fine. Obviously blown out of proportion. Nothing to worry about.
That's the one thing also that.
Also, quick reminder, FSU going to the College World Series. I just see on Twitter the game finally ended, guys. I'm so damn happy right now. Wow. Continue, G.
Sorry. Like that, some people pointed it out, which is good, but like it's not like he's, sitting on his ass in the dugout or like, showing up late or anything like that. Like, a few different outlets noted like he's been at the stadium, like he shows up early, he's working out, with the coaches. I think he also name dropped Aaron Judge. Like he's just really working hard. Like it might not necessarily manifest itself yet, but like this was the example that Andrew directly mentioned, like Gary Sanchez. We like to, like wail on him for the pass balls and all that stuff. And now he's like showing improvement. Like Clint's showing up early and working really hard at it. And it just hasn't quite manifested itself yet.
It's crazy how 2 years in a row we've had a large chunk of the fan base try and run these guys out of town because they're a little bit of a pariah.
Because they're young and not fucking gold glovers. Like, big surprise.
Right. And the Yankees are a team of tradition and class. And, you have all these long-term, people still think about, the Paul O'Neills and the Bernie Williams and the Derek Jeters. Like,
try Mickey Mantles and Thurman Munson's. And
but I'm saying more recently, you know what I mean? Like, even like people like our age, let's say, who kind of grew up watching like those people, like you can't get to the stature of those players unless you play for a couple of years and prove yourself. And if you get rid of these guys, you're ready to ship people out of town after a couple bad weeks. Like you're never going to see them develop into these type of players, and the talent's there.
Like I feel like a large section of the fan base is just not familiar with the process of like watching a young player grow up. Like the Yankees for most of my life were always like, the A-Rods, the Teixeiras, Derek Jeter, like the established veterans. And now over the last, several years when they've had, the Judges and Garys and, the Clint Fraziers, the young players who still have work to do and have to grow up. And we're just not familiar as a fan base with, that they're going to, fuck up, that they're going to make mistakes, and that they're not just going to come in and be the same player that they've been for the first X years of their career.
I'll give you a good example. Look at Sunday's game against Cleveland. Obviously, we're not talking about brash personalities, but look at the pitchers who came in relief of Shane Bieber. You had A.J. Cole. You had Tyler Clippard, who's on the other end of the spectrum because he's old and bad. But you had A.J. Cole, Nick Goody, and Tyler Olson all pitched. All three of those guys, I bet you we can dig up tweets where all four of us trashed all three of those guys when they were on the Yankees. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. And the fan base is so volatile and so quick to just pound these guys into the pavement and run them out of town. Like, and yet players develop and they become good, competent players that you want on your roster. And like, if you don't give them the chance, they're never going to be there.
Yeah, just look at like Gio Urshela, look at Voit, look at Hicks, look at Didi. All those guys started off their careers not as good, and then they went to the Yankees and became stars. And I think a lot of the fans are used to just seeing people come to the Yankees and performing. Like even someone like Judge, who started off bad in 2016, he then came in 2017 and hit 52 home runs. A lot of the fans are not used to seeing players struggle when they come to the team recently, which is why I think a lot of fans think Stanton's season last year was awful, even though he hit 38 home runs.
For a player like Clint, I feel like, I mean, obviously the Yankees and the New York market and the media climate is what it is, but I feel like for a player that's at the stage of his career like Clint, the Yankees, provide a certain amount of cover, right? Because you still have, Judge. He's not around now, but, you still have like the Stanton caliber players, like the big time players who are going to command more of that attention. So, like unless he, keeps doing things that put himself in the media, like he's going to eventually be able to just, fade back and show up for the right reasons because he's having a good season. He really is.
And we're down a host. All right, guys. Let's. What do we? Did we lose Luigi? Is he hanging with us?
I think we lost him.
Oh no!
Press on. Who do they
All
play
right.
after Boston?
Well, I mean,
they played the Jays after the Red Sox series and lost the Jays. Hang on.
I
They
think
lost
I'm
the
back.
first two series of the
Hello?
game. Oh, he's back.
I'm back, guys. Yeah, my mic cut out. It had nothing to do with me celebrating FSU's College World Series appearance.
yeah, I'm sure. Okay.
Yeah,
Nothing
sure.
to do with that. I didn't unplug my mic in celebration. That did not happen. Yeah, Alex, I was trying to say before when we were talking about guys that, kind of didn't have good starts to their career. I mean, look at Severino. Severino has that first year where he's phenomenal, right? I think he only had like 10 starts. And then he had that second year where, I mean, he was like the worst pitcher in baseball, right? He was so bad. And it was like, wow,
I
okay, I
seem
guess
to
this guy
remember a
just sucks.
certain co-host of this podcast just flipping out every single time Severino pitched.
Well, me?
It's not me, right? Definitely
not
not me.
Not me, right?
Of course
Couldn't be me.
It was
No
very
way.
obviously G.
Jesus, a psycho, man. That guy freaks out about everything.
You know what's wild about Severino is we came up in 2015 and we saw the glimpse of what he ended up being in 2017, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then 2016 was an unmitigated disaster. Like they had to fake that injury. I don't actually ever know if that injury was real or not.
Yeah, I think about that too. Like, I think they were kind of like, all right, this is his injury. Let's get him out.
There might have been some kind of injury, but they probably milked it until they felt he was like ready to come back.
But look, I mean, this is the perfect lead into something else if we want to go there on the show. Like, what if they're doing the same thing with Domingo Germán, right? Like, what if he has like the hip flexor strain is like right next to your groin, right? Like maybe that's something you can kind of pitch through, but maybe they said, you know what, we'll shut you down. Your mechanics are out of whack anyway, and you have an innings limit. This is the perfect excuse to just save your arm for a couple weeks.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned that innings limit when it happened, and I think I speak for. I'm not sure if I speak for everyone, but I completely forgot he was on an innings limit. Like it completely just slipped my mind. I said, oh yeah, like that's. Like if he misses 3 weeks, then hey, maybe that's. I'd rather him miss 3 weeks in June than in September because I still have confidence that, especially if Severino comes back and he's healthy, Germán would be nasty out of the bullpen. I mean, that dude, his numbers the first two times through the lineup is like opponent batting average is like 160, and then third time it's 315. I know a lot of pitchers that happens to, but man, having Germán for one inning out of the bullpen, I mean, he's already made a couple appearances out of the bullpen this year, and he's been nasty. So. Yeah, Germán out of the bullpen would be great, especially if he's going to be on an innings limit because we need him to start right now. We're still not healthy, especially with Tanaka going and having sex 9 months ago. I mean, what's that guy doing? Didn't he know we'd be down like 10 men at this point? Like, come on, Tanaka, what are you doing? Oh man. Let's see what else we got, guys. I want to quickly talk about the Blue Jays series. This was the series that ended the consecutive series victory streak. The Yankees were at 9 consecutive series won. And then they went north of the border, and I don't know. There's something about Toronto sports teams right now that they're just really damn good. I don't know. They lose the first
Jays
two
just
games of
got
the set.
swept by the Diamondbacks, so I think that kind of just disproves your theory.
Not really, because they beat us, and that's all that matters, right? Fuck the Diamondbacks. No, but the Yankees, yeah, they lost the first two games of the series. Fun fact, and not fun at all, actually. The Yankees on this road trip, right? They lost 4 games. They led all 4 of these games. Like they led both games against the Blue Jays, lost, or the first 2 games against the Blue Jays, they lost, and then they jumped out to 2-0 leads against Cleveland Friday and Saturday and lost both those games. So,
and today too, they had a 2-0 lead.
yeah,
And a 5-0 lead.
Yeah, so wow, a lot of blown leads this week for the Yankees, who up until this week their bullpen was just holding every lead and shutting everything down, but wasn't the case.
Obviously, we should have gotten Dallas Keuchel, right? Like clearly, he's the fix for everything.
Yeah, if Dallas Keuchel, he would have thrown 5 starts this week. He would have thrown complete game shutouts in every start.
Dallas
And come in relief every game.
Honestly, like it's the same Dallas Keuchel that shut us down in the wild card game. It's the same exact guy, no different, no wear and
That's the
tear.
same
that
logic
guy.
with getting Bumgarner. He's obviously going to be the same guy from 2014.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Speaking of Mad Bum, not a good day for him.
No, it wasn't.
Oh man, that was great. Also, speaking of miscellaneous baseball news, obviously he's a Red Sox, but man, prayers up to Big Papi. Apparently, he got shot in the Dominican in an attempted armed robbery.
He got shot in the leg.
Yeah, so
okay.
Prayers up. It sounds like that's probably like a serious injury.
Yeah, I mean, you just never know, man.
Obviously, it would get.
It seems like something sketchy happens in the Dominican with the baseball player like every year. Like I always get scared when I hear those stories, man.
Where's Wilson Ramos from? Remember he was kidnapped for like 6 weeks.
Yeah, that was
like Venezuela or something.
I think Venezuela, because Venezuela has had a lot of problems in the last couple of years.
Scary. And Alex's boy Tyro was shot there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tyro got shot.
That tweet that was like Tyro Estrada got shot and still made it back before Jacoby Ellsbury. Oh man. Yeah, guys. So real quick, because fuck the Blue Jays. Recap of that Blue Jay series. Thoughts, takeaways, anger. That second game where we were up 7-4 and lost 11-7, which is brutal. That was really bad.
I'll make it real quick. Kendrys Morales can't hit. Aaron Hicks is rounding into shape, and Luis Cessa deserves to be nowhere near a major league mound ever again. Are we good? Are we good?
We're good.
We good?
Moving on.
DJ LeMahieu was fantastic.
Yeah, DJ LeMahieu literally is incredible, especially with runners on base. Now let's move to this series. Cleveland, like I already said, they were up 2-0. Both of these, Friday and Saturday game. Didi made his return, right? Didi makes his return. His first pitch he sees, he rips it to right, gets thrown out at second. Trying to stretch it to a double, but nevertheless, the bat's there, the hands are there. He looks good. We won't talk about what he did on Sunday right now, but he looks good, at the plate, right? He hit his first home run Saturday. Things were going good for Didi, but yeah, man, it's not a good series for this. Not a good week. Not a good series for this Yankees bullpen. Friday and Saturday, the bullpen didn't blow it Friday and Saturday, but they kind of just put it out of reach. We'll talk more about that later. But man, I think we all felt like this. I was just so mad they were losing to that Indians team because Jason Kipnis was literally 0 for 21 entering that series, and he just looked like prime Jason Kipnis this weekend. He was just spraying balls all over the field, getting big hits. I was like, wait, what? This guy's hitting Jose Ramirez was getting hits. That's another thing I want to talk about.
Who was that guy, Oscar Mercado, who looked like Lou Gehrig against us?
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, don't they aren't they terrible offensively? Well, they're fucking tagging us. Well, what's going on here? Yeah, just very, very bizarre. This was almost if the Yankees. Let's just talk about this Sunday game because it was the one win. If the Yankees, they're up 5-0, right? Everything's going good. It looks like a nice and easy victory. Boone, it was a bullpen day. So Boone, he goes Green for 2 innings, Cortez for 3 innings of shutout. Cortez does well. Then puts in Tommy Kahnle in the 6th, right? No one blinks an eye, right? Everyone's cool with it. Tommy Tight Pants goes on to give up 4 runs in one inning. It's 5-4 out of nowhere. This was also a game where every pitcher who's ever pitched for the Yankees ever was on the mound for the Indians. We got Clipper, we got AJ Cole. There was Olsen. There was a lot of guys just coming out of nowhere. But Ottavino comes in the 7th inning, 5-4 game, gives up a 800-foot home run to dead center. That's Statcast said it went 800 feet, so that's how many feet it went. And yeah, the Yankees almost blew this game, and it probably would have been the worst loss of the season. But fear not, they would get Clint Frazier gets a sac fly in the 9th. Didi almost, first and second, 2 outs, the bottom of the 9th, right? Chapman gets the ground ball to short. Didi just whiffs on it, man. It runs, scores, tie game. Suicide watch times 1,000. It was looking like the Yankees are going to lose the game. And what do you know? Cameron Maybin and Aaron Hicks come up big in the 10th. They both get doubles. Yankees win 7-6. Stephen Tarpley comes in the 9th inning, gets the save, strikes out the side. We avoid the sweep. We finish the road trip 2-4. Let's get the hell back to New York. Man, that was a stressful game today, man. I was miserable. Like, I came in, it was funny. Like, my mom came in, I was like watching the game, and it was the 8th inning, and my mom came in, and she's like, "Why you look so mad? It's like a tie game, 5-5. It's a good game." I'm like, "Well, they were just up 5-0 like a half hour ago, and now here we are in a 5-5 game." So, yeah, at the end of the day, they get the win. But man, what a rough week of baseball, guys. What happened in this Cleveland series? Well, why did the Indians look like the fucking Astros this weekend?
It just everything imploded. The bullpen just decided that they just imploded. Like, the bullpen, I think, is the one reason that this series was so awful. Like, every single pitcher that came out of the bullpen just did not have it, except for maybe Zach Britton today.
Stephen Tarpley.
And Stephen Tarpley. Shout out to him.
Shout out.
And also I don't even have words for it. It's just the bullpen was so bad this weekend. I don't even know how else to describe it.
I think it's just one of those things, right? I mean, like we said earlier on, these kind of games are going to happen. What's more important is that this doesn't linger. But I mean, the guys aren't going to. You're not going to have 4 or 5 relievers in your bullpen with sub-2 ERAs all year. It's just a messy week. I think I'd mentioned in one of our chats. It just seems like they struggle in maybe 3 or 4 ballparks every year, and they got 2 of those ballparks back to back on this road trip. Like, they always seem to struggle in Cleveland, and for whatever reason, they can beat up on the Jays all they want at Yankee Stadium. They always struggle up in Toronto. I don't know why. So it could just be one of those things, but I mean, I guess I'm just glad it's over. And now we get the Mets. Hopefully that can help us out. But I mean, the world will burn if things go south this week. I think this is just a blip in the radar.
Yeah, hopefully, right? Because if they keep playing like this, guys, we want to get into our awards for the week, our player of the week, what pissed us off. Anything else to recap from the last 10 or so Yankee games?
Well, let's forget the last 10 or so Yankee games.
I mean, it wasn't that bad. I think they were like 6-6 in their last 12, but it definitely wasn't pretty. It wasn't.
Let's forget the last 6 games then.
Yeah, agreed. This was a bad road trip. Not good. You play 2, one team that's well below 500 and then a 500 team. You expect to go better than 2-4.
A 500 team that has benefited from being in a terrible division.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to lose games, but they lost these games in a very, very annoying way. So I'm ready to forget them.
Yeah. So, G, being that you just talked, give us your player of the week. Who is your player of the week?
All right. So my player of the week is Aaron Hicks. And for the week, he was 6 for 22. He had 3 home runs and 6 RBIs. I believe it was Andrew just a few minutes ago, said, he's definitely starting to round into form and, brings some stability to the outfield, really good fielder, especially, good to have that with Clint Frazier playing out there, a guy who can really lock down, with good range. And, he brings a really good bat to the top of the lineup. Most of the time it's second now instead of first with, the arrival of DJ LeMahieu. But, it really just a really good bat that lengthens the lineup. And, he didn't have a, great first week or so, but, launched a couple home runs. In typical Aaron Hicks fashion, he pimped the shit out of them. And always pimp everything. But, it's good. And he had a good week. And I hope that continues because, he was really, really good for a lot of last year. And we need that with some injuries, continuing to linger.
I'll go next. My player of the week, I'll give it to Clint Frazier. He was 2 for 10 with a home run in the Toronto series. Then he went 5 for 9 against Cleveland, right? The team that drafted him. He was just pissing on the ball this weekend. I also, despite not making any spectacular plays, any highlight reel plays, thought he played a pretty solid outfield. Made the plays he needed to, was tracking balls well. It was a very quiet but very solid week defensively for Clint. But man, I can't get over him at the plate. He just continues to rake, continues to almost, he's making a strong case to be the Yankees DH, right? When this team's fully healthy. I mean, obviously, that's if they don't trade him because the guy's such a bum, right? According to half of the Yankees Twitter. But yeah, Clint's my player of the week. I thought he had a nice bounce to come back from what he went through on Sunday to just have, to go 7 for 19 on the week. Great job by Clint this week. He's my player of the week. Alex, who do you got?
So my player of the week is DJ LeMahieu.
The machine.
The man who cannot get out when there's runners in scoring position.
What's his average at now with runners in scoring position? Is he above or below 500?
I'm pretty sure he's either at or over 500.
Jesus Christ. It's fucking the second week of June, and this guy's hitting 500 with runners on base. It's ridiculous.
This week, though, he went 9 for 22. He had 3 doubles, a home run, 6 RBIs. He was hitting 409. And he came through in every single situation. In game 3 against the Jays, or in game 2 against the Jays, he had a 3-run home run to make it 7-4. In Cleveland, he had a couple hits. And just he continues to get hits with runners in scoring position. He always puts up a good at bat, and he's been the Yankees MVP this year, I think. And it pains me to say it, but Luigi did call this earlier before the season started. He said DJ has a chance to be the Yankees MVP for this year because he's so underrated. But he's been probably the Yankees' best player for this year. I'm pretty sure he leads them in WAR, and he's just been a godsend for this team this year.
Yeah, Andrew has the hottest one right here. Andrew, who's your player of the week?
I actually don't. The more I've been looking at things, I'm actually going to go with Cameron Maben. Which
I like that.
It doesn't,
right.
That name doesn't pop
I
the
like
page.
that.
He only played in 4 of the 6 games this week, but in his last 3 games, the last 2 games in Toronto, and then he sat both Friday and Saturday against Cleveland, but he did play today. In all 3 of those last 3 games, 2 hits in each game, 2 runs scored in each game. He's got a total of 8 bases across the 6 hits. So what's that? 4 singles and 2 doubles. I mean, who would have thought that he's been? He came over and then he started hitting. He's around 280, 290. You kind of figured that would taper off. You look at his batting average as of tonight. He's still at 289. Like he's still a solid bat in the lineup. He's not going to wow you with anything he does. He's going to play a good outfield, but he was a solid bat in the lineup in the games he played this week, and they don't win that game Sunday without him starting the rally with the double in the 10th inning.
Yeah, no, Maben's been great this year. We're about to go into what pissed us off this week, and this isn't mine, but this is just a bonus. I just hate how he just will go a game or 2 without playing. Like when we see Kendrys Morales in the lineup, he should get those at bats over Kendrys Morales. He's been such a better hitter. I know he's not your typical DH, but goddamn, neither is a guy that can't hit for shit like Kendrys Morales. But that's all I wanted to say right there. Let's get into what pissed us off this week. I set the tone right there with he's going off on Cameron Maben not playing. Alex, what pissed you off this week?
So going off,
Alex is going through a tunnel of some sort.
Am I good now?
Yeah, you're good now. Oh,
So, for me, the fact that Aaron Boone kept putting Hendrys Morales in the lineup is
yeah.
unforgivable. Honestly, the guy is hitting 140 with the Yankees this year. He's 8 for 57 with a home with one extra base hit, which was that home,
Jesus.
which was that.
Oh, I think we lost Alex temporarily, but yeah, no, Kendrys Morales, just the fact that this dude's still getting at bats is ridiculous.
He was 3 for 18 this week. This
I
last
mean,
What's worse
that's
is the
actually pretty
explanation
good
Boone
for him.
gave for him, right? Like
Yeah,
Boone
that
was
was pretty
like,
bad.
"Oh, well, he's still squaring up the ball, and we think that he still could provide a lot of depth to the lineup because he's a switch hitter. We just got to get him going." It's like, dude, he's not hitting. Stop it.
He's
Yeah.
he's a tired old horse at the end of his career. Just let him, like, it's fine. Right?
Take him out back.
Like, as soon as Giancarlo comes back, or Judge, God bless him, if they hope they don't have setbacks. But, like, as soon as one of those guys comes back, how are you going to make a case that he's not the guy that should be gone? Like, right? Cameron Maven's been good. Brett Gardner's been streaky, but, better than Morales. Like,
Yeah,
Urshela,
Guardy hasn't been great,
any
but
of
he's
these
had some
guys.
moments,
Yeah, like any of these guys would be better than him in the lineup every day.
You guys want to hear a weird stat too? Morales has only struck out 6 times.
Yeah, that.
So he's grounding out weekly.
He's making contact. He just can't do anything with it.
Like they keep talking
Pop-ups and
about
hits
it
into
on
the shift.
Yeah, they keep talking about it on the telecast. Like the shift ruined that guy's career. Like he was a good hitter before everyone started shifting, and now he just sucks. He just hits into the shift every time. Like the shift was made for guys like Kendrys Morales.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
forget who I was talking to. It may have been like a family member this week, or maybe it was one of you guys in one of the chats. But like, if you think about 2008, when the Angels traded for Teixeira, and like he left in free agency to come over to the Yankees, right? They had no one to play first base, and they're like, "Oh, I guess we'll just plug this guy from Cuba in here, right?" Like whatnot. And he was awesome. He was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then ever since I know he had like that stint in Minnesota and Seattle, and he was good in Toronto for a while. But like after that guy hit that walk-off home run and slammed on home plate and shattered his leg, that killed like what could have been like an unbelievable career.
Yeah, because he's
Speaking
just so slow.
Speaking of the shift killing careers, Teixeira that year, the year before he came to the Yankees, batted like 315, and 2 years later he was batting 240. So.
Well, that was a positive note, G. Never talk bad about Mark Teixeira. Mark Teixeira.
Thanks for that, G. We're all really happy now.
So now what pissed you off this week?
Mark Teixeira.
Mark Teixeira hitting 240 in 2010.
Let me tell you, Mark Teixeira's segment on the Michael K. Show this week really pissed me off. I'm kidding.
Please tell me this is not what your segment is.
No. This is not what my segment is.
This is some hot content coming to you on the Bronx Bomber Babble podcast.
We're going to call this segment G on the Bong because G's clearly just hitting a bong, just saying, Mark Teixeira in 2011 had a bad batting average. Rip. All right, G, so what pissed you off?
So what pissed me off was Domingo Germán waiting, what was it, almost 3 weeks to tell the Yankees that he was feeling anything with his hip. Like, and I'm not going to take it in like a Dallas Keuchel, they should have signed him type of thing, like, because that's been beaten to death. But like, just in terms, like, in general, I mean, no.
Okay, can you definitively tell me that you did not say that earlier today to us?
I did, but I mean,
oh, okay. I just wanted that on record. Thank you.
You also can't tell the degree of seriousness to which that statement was delivered. That's fine. I said it. Just in general, like, it never really works out, right? A player feels something, they have like an injury more than like your everyday aches and pains, and then they wait like X amount of time and have to go on the, their injured list anyway. Like, he said he first felt it on the 26th, and he felt pain in his last start on Friday. Like, just tell the team, for Christ's sake. Like, you go on the the IL for, 10 days or a week. Like, who knows if it got any worse, more severe and lengthened that IL stint over the last 3 weeks. But it's just annoying. And like, obviously they're incredibly injured this year, but like you have guys like Chance Adams, like you have guys who can at least throw innings, in the organization. And Herman's been pretty average over the last few weeks, not necessarily correlating with the injury, but like it has been overlapping with the injury.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You gotta tell your team when you're hurt, right? But like who knows? Maybe he was aware of Keuchel. I mean, 200 IQ play by Herman. Andrew, Andrew, what pissed you off this week? Like I always say with Andrew, what didn't piss Andrew off
What
this
didn't
week,
piss
right?
me off? Jeez. You breathing pissed me off. No, wow, I got
Well.
dark.
Wow.
Well, guys, I'm
No,
gonna hold my breath the rest of the show. Hopefully, it doesn't go too much longer.
it's that mic, man. It amplifies everything. For me, it's very easily the inability to hold leads. I mean, all four. Luigi, you already said, in all four of their losses this week, they had blown leads. To a lesser extent, on Saturday, they had the 2-run home run from Didi in the first inning. There's plenty of time for Cleveland to come back in that game. But they had a 7-4 lead in that second game against Toronto.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That was, I think, the worst loss of the entire week, because you had, I don't even remember who started the inning. They gave up 2 runs. I believe, was it Sessa? I thought he gave up a couple runs before Brayton gave up the home run to Guerrero. Oh, no, excuse me. Sessa pitched later in the game, right? And gave up the home runs out the wazoo after the fact.
Yeah. Sessa pitched after Britton.
It was Holder.
Yeah, it was Ottavino, Canley, Holder, Britton, Sessa.
Yeah, I mean that's brutal. I think Ottavino came in, got one out, walked the guy, they immediately yanked him, put in Canley, and he escaped the jam. But then Holder imploded the next inning. Shocker.
Big shock.
So it's just the inability of these guys to hold leads, and again, they're not going to be locked down the whole year. But just to have everything compound in such a tight window and have it happen over and over and over again, and then lose a ton of winnable games in a short window, that was the worst part. So that's really what I grinded my gears the most this week.
A weird thing I've noticed about Holder is that the last 2 years, it seems like he goes on streaks where he's actually really good.
Yeah.
Especially last year, he had the 24 scoreless inning streak or something. And this year he hasn't been as good. But then after that ends, he just completely explodes. And he's awful.
Yeah, he was awful Saturday, man.
Yeah.
2 home runs, 3 runs in that inning. Whew.
But the beginning of basically all of May, he really was not that bad at all. He had a few hiccups, but for the most part, he was pretty reliable.
He goes on streaks just long enough for Aaron Boone to want to use him in important situations, and then those are the situations that he screws up in.
He goes on streaks long enough to get onto our trust list, and then dies.
And then kicks us right in the nuts. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm going to stick with the bullpen in terms of what pissed me off. Friday, I haven't, I was a big anti-Boone guy last year. I think that's what I got labeled as. But, I really haven't been tough on Boone this year. I think he's done a good job this year. But, man, Friday and Saturday, him deciding to put in David Hale on Friday and then Jonathan Holder in on Saturday. Both games were down by 2 runs, and both guys give up runs, and especially Holder just kind of just puts the game out of reach when the game's not over. That was such a Boone thing last year. It's like we'd be down by 2 runs, and it's like, if he wouldn't bring in one of our better relievers while we're down 2. He would bring in just a complete scrub, and then we're down 5. And he'd
Such
say,
a beta white flag move, man.
If we were, if this was a tie game, maybe I would have brought in him. But since it was a 2-run game, it's like, dude, it's not that big of a difference. Both cases, it's still a close game that we could win. And, this game Saturday, Holder comes in, gives up 3 runs. It's a 5-run game. The Yankees, what does the offense do the next inning? They score 2 runs. But guess what? We're still down 3 because you decided to put in Jonathan Holder, who's been brutal in his last few outings. It was that I don't know. I just felt like you could have brought in especially on Saturday when you really didn't use anyone good out of your bullpen on Friday. I get that you're having the bullpen day on Sunday, so I get why you want to save your bullpen, but you got to try to win the game. You can't just put in Jonathan Holder while you're down 2. It's not ideal. Holder. His last outing was, I believe, at that point was that second game against the Blue Jays, which, despite not allowing any earned runs, he still wasn't good. He still didn't do his job, and just to put him back out there, in a situation like that, like being down, like Aaron Boone treats being down 2 runs like being down 10 runs. It might as well be 10-0 at that point with Boone because he just doesn't go for it at that point. It's still a Boone thing, but yeah, that's what pissed me off. And speaking of bullpens, let's go into the most unanticipated bullpen trust list of the year. I don't want to put any of these assholes on my list, to be honest. Like I'm looking at, I'm like, wow, all these guys kind of suck this week. Andrew, start it off for us.
Are we going to do a 1 through 5, or do you want to kind of divert? Because I think all of our lists are in shambles.
No, we're gonna do a 1 through 4. We're doing it, Andrew. I have my 1 through 5 ready. It's ugly, but we got it.
All right. Chapman's still number 1. I mean, he really has been the best house in a bad neighborhood the past few weeks. Britton, I'll keep it 2. He obviously gave up the home run to Vlad Jr., but I mean, Vladdy is going to be an absolute star in this league, and it wasn't even really a bad pitch. Like outside of that, he's still been pretty rock solid. He'll make you sweat a little bit, but
he'll sweat a lot.
Britton, really?
I thought you were talking about Chappie still.
Luigi Eishel.
I thought you were still talking about. I heard you said Chapman, and then I heard sweat like a little bit later. So
I'm gonna put shocker rocketing all the way up to 3, or I guess everyone else pushed him up because of their ineptitude. Chad Green is at number 3 for me.
Wow.
He pitched 3 times this week. Only allowed a run in one of those 3 performances. Had a big 2-inning opener today. I mean, I don't really know what we're going to get from Chad Green over the long haul, but he seems to be pitching better right now. So for whatever that's worth, Ottavino at 4. I mean, he hasn't looked phenomenal either. And of course, the home run he gave up today was hit to he was hit in Lake Erie. But I mean, on the whole, he's still been pretty good. And Canley's really, really, really taken a hit. Not just for his performance today. It seemed like he's been a little hit and miss the past few weeks. Like he'll have a couple, like it was that game, like I said, in Toronto, he bailed out Ottavino. But there's other games where he's kind of looking a little shaky. He gave up a couple home runs on our last homestand. But he's the kind of guy that he could turn it around super quickly.
Yeah. Chad Green over Ottavino, that's bold, man. I know Ottavino has been great, but he just allowed his first earned run today since like late April. I don't know, man. Chad Green still got that 8.27 ERA. I'll go with my list next. Still got Chappie at 1. He went down for a blown save on Sunday, but really wasn't all his fault. Thanks, Didi. Good to have you back, but what the hell is that, man? Number 2, I got Otto. Like I said, allowed his first earned run since like late April today, so I'm still not all too worried about him. Got Canley at 3. He had the terrible outing today. His ERA, I think, went up like a full point. That's what it'll do when you give up 4 runs in 1 inning. Britton, I got 4th. Like another guy who had a blow-up outing this week, but I still have confidence in him. He still had a good year. And I was going to put Tarpley 5th just as a nod to him striking out the side, but I couldn't do it. I'm going to put Swag Green 5th. He looks like he's getting back on track. He's the best opener of all time, the greatest opener ever. We're now 4-0 when Chad Green is the opener. So Chad Green should just be the opener at least once a week. That's what we're going to do because they're guaranteed wins at this point. And so, yeah, that's my bullpen trust list. Holder out of here. Holder's not even in the top 10 anymore. I think Chance Adams is ahead of Holder as of now. Let's hear your top 5.
All right. So I started, when I sat down to go over my list, and I was originally going to keep it pretty much the same. And then this week happened, and, that's all out the window. But number 1 is still Chapman, and he was, he makes us sweat sometimes, but he was the American League reliever of the month for May, and Didi cost him today, but he's been really great overall for the season. I'm leaving Ottavino at number 2, and he gave up that monster shot today, but again for the season he's been really good. I'm moving Zach Britton up to number 3, and I feel
they're big moves by G.
Yeah, I can't mention Zach Britton without people, you guys pointing out how I knocked him that one time, which is like a pretty good while ago at this point. But he gave up the home run to Vlad Jr. And that was his first earned runs allowed since like the beginning of May, like the very first few days of May. So I consider that a pretty good enough stretch to warrant moving up in my list. And I'm putting Canely at 4. He was Green at 5, and I really kind of waffled on that one. But Green, I'm going to see if he can keep improving for a little bit longer before I move him any further up. Canely has definitely taken a little bit of a hit. He's looked a little shaky, had a couple bad moments and outings over the last couple weeks, but I still think, he's got a little bit of a leash, and, he was really, really good, for the first, month and a half of the season, and I'd be really surprised to see that all just go away. Like if he just lost it all again. Knock on wood. I hope that doesn't happen, but my list is Chapman, Ottavino, Britton, Canely, and Chad Green.
So mine's basically it's very similar to G's. I'm doing the unthinkable for me and putting Chapman at 1 because he's really been the only reliever, especially in this past week, that you can count on. Like Luigi said, today he got a blown save, but that was not his fault in any way. If Didi had made that play, he would have gotten an actual save. Then I have Britton second, just because I think Britton's been really good recently, like G said. In case we haven't covered it yet, he gave up the home run to Vlad Jr. the other day. But that pitch was really, really well located, and Vlad just flicked it out over the left field wall. So I think I have a lot of faith in Britton right now. Ottavino at 3 because his stuff is so nasty that even though he gave up the home run today, he can't. His only problem is that he struggles with his control, and that is a side effect of his stuff being so nasty. But I think he's been probably the Yankees' most reliable, or one of their most reliable relievers this year. I have Canely at 4, just because his blow up today, that can't be, that's got to be an outlier. He had the other blow up in Houston in the beginning of the season, but other than that, he really has not given up that many runs. He gave a home run when the Yankees played Tampa at Yankee Stadium, and there's been a few other ones, but for the most part, he's been fantastic. And then I have Chad Green at 5.
Swag. It's good to see Swag Green making it back onto the bullpen trust list. So we never thought we'd see him again, but hey, when Jonathan Holder was your number 5 for so many weeks, it's not that hard to dethrone that guy. Let's wrap up the show. Just Yankees got a quick 2-game set, a little Subway Series against the New York Mets. The Mets are currently 32-33. They've won 4 of their last 5 though, so they got that going for them. And you know what else they got going for them? Pete Alonso. That dude's really damn good. I remember him at he went to UF. He was a Gator, and dude just has always just been a great hitter, and he's carrying it to the big leagues. He's already got 21 home runs this year. He's having a great year. But the Mets, they're still the Mets, I think we're going to see Jason Vargas on Monday, and I believe, is it Wheeler on Tuesday? I have to check again. But, yeah, we're not seeing any of the Mets' big arms, right? No Syndergaard, no DeGrom. How are we feeling? I believe this is our first of 2 Subway Series we'll have this year. I think we have one at the beginning of July, and obviously this one. So, guys, how are you feeling facing the Mets, the mighty Mets?
The Mets are awful, and I really be sad if the Yankees don't win these games.
They're not awful, but they're not good. 32-33 isn't awful. It's bad, but it's very average. But it's
that just screams trap series to me, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
is there really such thing as a trap series? They just lost all these games this week. We're worried about a trap,
yeah.
Well, because you look at the quality of the opponent and you think we struggled against Cleveland, who's an okay team on the road. We're coming home. We're facing a Mets team that we should win. Let's go ahead and take 2 games, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a hole. I feel like just the perspective, the Yankees are expected to win both these games. So, and that end, it becomes a trap.
Yeah. Monday and Tuesday. Also, Monday Tanaka's pitching for the Yanks. He's back from his paternity leave. Also, we've been joking about it, but shout out to Tanaka and his wife for having a kid. Pretty awesome. Paxton pitching Tuesday. So, Tanaka and Paxton going Monday and Tuesday against this Mets lineup should be good, right? But you just never know. That's baseball, Susan.
Like the Yankees have the advantage, I believe, in both of those pitching matchups because it is real.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, they really should win both of these games. The Mets are, they're not like a joke, outright embarrassment like the, circus that the Mets have been in years past. Like, but they're really like a pretty average, beatable baseball team.
Just like to announce that Robinson Cano has had 2 different DL stints this year, so that trade's really worked out for them.
Look, man, there's some things you could count on, and one of those is the Mets training staff and doctors and whole medical team being an absolute joke.
I mean,
we're in no position to make fun of them.
Yeah, I mean, let's not make fun of anybody else's training staff because the Yankees right now. Not right players. Now. Yeah, we had like at one point we actually had. I'm checking now, 285 players on the IL in the month of April. So.
Yeah, that's just a rough estimate.
Yeah, that's. I'm not even counting the pitchers.
That's pretty precise.
Yeah, but the Yankees, I believe, after this, don't they? Who will they play after this Mets series? It's another like average team. It's another team that classic trap games, I should say. The Chicago 4-game set against the Chicago White Sox in Chicago. Good things usually happen there, right? In that stadium. Nothing bad ever happened there to the Yankees, right? Right?
What are we alluding to? Melky hit a cycle there. Miguel Andujar had an awesome debut there. What are we talking about?
I was thinking of the Fowler incident. No.
Oh no!
I don't know why that just popped right in my head. I remember that was in Chicago. That made me sad.
Jacoby Ellsbury hit a go-ahead home run a couple years ago in Chicago.
Like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember. Like I have a bad memory as it is, but like I don't remember Jacoby. Like the only thing I remember Jacoby Ellsbury on the Yankees for is him getting catcher's interferences. Like that's pretty much it. Like I just don't remember Jacoby. I don't have vivid memories of Jacoby Ellsbury on the Yankees. It's just been too long.
I wouldn't expect any more vivid memories of him.
Oh, God.
Oh, man. All right, guys. Anything else before we wrap the show up? I think we've gone like an hour here. So it's a good show today. Good show.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we should probably note that Betances had a setback, so I don't even know if we're going to get to see him at all this year. I mean, we don't. At least it's.
When was that announced? When was that announced?
They said, I believe it was Boone's post-game interview yesterday, they said he had some pain in his lat.
Oh, my God, dude.
They basically said his regular post-throwing soreness turned into, like, actual concerning soreness. He's going back to New York to meet with the doctor tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, that's really concerning because remember when if it's the same injury as Severino was shut down for, 6 weeks in April. It's already June. So if Betances has that, he might not pitch all this year. Or again with the Yankees because he's going to be a free agent in the year.
The thing that's working in his favor is that he is, in fact, a reliever and doesn't need to get stretched out. But, I mean, it's still concerning if you have multiple injuries in the same area. Like, it's not good.
On a slightly more positive note, Stanton's supposed to begin rehab in, the next week. So maybe we get Stanton back. Judge's supposed to start rehab in hopefully a couple of weeks.
According to Yankees Twitter, they don't need Stanton, though.
Yeah, that's what I always say. Stanton sucks. Stanton actually sucks, yo. He had kind of an off year last year. He still hit 38 bombs and 100 RBIs. He sucks.
One said yesterday that he's really close, but I swear that I saw somewhere that they said
remember
he could go and start the rehab early this week.
Honestly, I'll never believe anything the Yankees say about injuries ever again after they said Aaron Hicks would be ready for the first series of the weekend, and he wasn't ready for
what about
late
Judge
May.
saying he'd be back in 2 weeks after he broke his wrist?
Yeah, that too.
Did Judge say that, or did the Yankees say that?
I think Judge did, but yeah.
Oh,
Good times. Good times for the Yankees and injuries. The IL Yankees as we
yes.
call
Cue the Sports Center not top 10 music when we talk about the Yankees
them.
trade or the Yankees injury list.
Man. Well, at the end of the day, they're still tied for first with Tampa. 40 wins so far in the young season. Hope we got 6 games this week against below 500 teams, right? Let's try to win. Let's win more than 2 games this week, right? Because it was the same situation last week where you're kind of facing 2 below average teams, and you lose both series. You can't have that. It's understandable that you're not going to win every series, obviously, after winning 9 straight. But man,
They still did keep Boston a comfortable 7 games back, which is,
Mhm.
it's a good distance for them to be back. Leave them there.
And they really got to hit their groove on this stretch too, because after that we got 6 straight games against Tampa and Houston. Like that's brutal.
Yeah, Tampa, then Houston back to back. That's pretty rough.
So they got to figure their shit out this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for Luigi, for Alex, for Andrew, for G, this was the Bronx Bomber Battle podcast, and we'll see you guys next time.